All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and start on the sidewall for this pocket. Now it varies depending upon what head you're using, of course, and also what pocket you're gonna be doing. I think for this one, I'm gonna do probably a 6 diamond classic. Now, if you're doing like a 7 diamond classic or an 8 diamond, you're gonna have probably 7 or 8-ish amount of diamonds. If you're doing like a 5 diamond, probably gonna have around 5 or 6. So I'm doing a 6 diamond pocket here, so I'm probably gonna do 6, maybe 7 loops going down the sidewall of the head. I have my sidewall string here. Once again, if you're doing like a mesh stringing, it'd be the exact same length. So around the length of a tack link shaft. I'm gonna go into the second hole again on the head, all the way through. This is a very simple loop that we're gonna be doing here for the rest of the sidewall string or rest of the sidewall going down the head. I'm gonna skip 2 holes in the head here. I'm gonna go into the plastic from the outside. I'm gonna come up and through this loop that we leave over. So here you can see into the plastic and just coming up into this loop, and then pull it tight and then up and down. I'm gonna skip 2 more sidewall holes into the plastic from the outside, Coming up into that loop. There we have our second one. I'm gonna skip 1 through the loop, skip 1 more through that loop, skip 1, and I'm gonna skip 1 more. I'm gonna go take our string going from the back and through that bottom sidewall hole, just like as if I was doing a mesh stringing. Okay, so I have my sidewall loops going down the head, as you can see here. Once again, I'm doing a 6 diamond classic here. So I have 6 loops. And we're just essentially going to do the exact same thing on the other side. Since this is a classic, I'm actually going to slightly offset it. So instead of going through the second hole, I'm going to just go through the first hole. So I already have my knot on one end. I'm going to skip 2 sidewall holes. Go into the plastic from the outside. Skip 2 more. And then we're just doing ones essentially all the way down. Or skipping 1. And then from this side, taking our string going from the back and through of the next sidewall hole. I'm just going to tie a knot. And these sidewall loops going down the head should be pretty tight. Doesn't have to be super tight, but you definitely don't want it to be loose. So I'm going to just tie that off here. And then from here on, we can finish up the leather prep. Now it's preference, but some people like to go just straight down through the leather like this. If I can get it through. Some will just go straight down through the leather. I prefer to not do that. I prefer to go from the outside and up like this, because I think it creates a little bit of depth or added depth to your pocket. So I prefer to do that. So I'm gonna do that for the rest of these here. I'm just gonna loosen this one up a little bit. And of course, you wanna make sure these are corresponding to the bottom string holes with the top string holes. So going from the back. And this is also kind of like a last reminder to make sure you have the smooth side of the leathers facing where it's gonna be touching the ball. All right, so we have our leathers all the way through, and here you can see on the other side. This is where your trajectory, or if you're going to use a trajectory, this is where it comes in. If you're just doing freehand, you can kind of just skip this step, but you're essentially going to just put your trajectory in through some sidewall loops here. I'm going to go, I like to do it in more like the lower third portion of the head. So I'm going to loosen these leathers up just a little bit to make it a little bit easier to work with. I'm going to pick a loop here, do this one. And then so here I have it kind of just below the midpoint of the head. And you can see because our leathers are slightly off, it might be a little crooked. But from here, we're just essentially just laying our leathers in the designated slots for them. We're going to pull these tight. And I'm just going to adjust this here. So now you can see we have our trajectory in, or our makeshift trajectory. And essentially this is just keeping our leathers in place. Now if you're doing freehand, you might get a better pocket overall, and I recommend trying to string freehand. But for the sake of the tutorial, I'm just going to be using this to make it a little bit easier. But you can see we have our two outer leathers are going to be lower than the center leathers, and that's obviously because we want, you know, a bit of channel in the pocket. You're going to make sure you pull these pretty tight. There we go. And then from this side, we're going to take our leathers and go through these loops that we have created on this back side. So our center two leathers on the inside, they're going to come through. And these are going to separate out like that. And that's also going to keep the center track nice and wide, which will give you some good hold. And our outer leathers are just going to go through these outer slits that they have created themselves. So all in all, it'll look like that. And then from the front, we're just going to tie them. You're going to make sure you pull. I'm going to start with my outer leathers. I'm going to pull these nice and tight. I'm just going to do a double knot on the front here. So you should be able to hear it so that it's nice and tight. And then go back and loop. Over, under, over. Now I'm going to grab the middle leathers and do the exact same thing. So pull these nice and tight. And I'm going to set these above the outer leathers instead. And also, if you have a head that has like little slits in the side, then you can use them. So with this Lakota here, I have these little slits in the plastic that I can actually use. You can see. So if you can, I'd recommend using those if your head actually has them. And so here you can see they're naturally going to just sit above and these are the leathers for the bottom or for the outside. These are the leathers for the center track. I'm going to just tie those nice and tight and double knot. So there, now our leathers are tied off. They should be nice and tight in the pockets. As you can see, trajectory is in, ready to roll, and now we can sew on the actual pocket.